Thank you. Senator Scott, Ranking Member Scott.
So, thank you. Secretary Wagner, first off, thanks for being here. One thing, you guys watched the earlier panel, anything that's required under the NDAA, if you'll just make sure you let us know where you are in the process, because it can't be a lot of fun to be up here and then somebody asks you why you didn't do it. So if you could make sure you let us know where you are and anything that you think that's required under the NDAA, so that'd be helpful. Secretary Wagner, Space Force just celebrated its 3rd birthday last December. I think a lot of us are concerned that many Americans don't really understand why don't just Space Force or why our national security matters in space. What are you doing to raise the profile of the Space Force, introduce the unique missions of Guardians to the America's youth, and compete for talent with the booming private sector commercial space industry, especially my great state of Florida?
Ranking Member Scott, I'm excited to talk about the U.S. Space Force. 3 years in, the mission is incredibly important. It helps every day protect not only our modern way of war, but more importantly, our modern way of life. We're excited to continue to work with Congress to develop a proposal to manage talent in the Space Force very differently than we have in the rest of the military departments. And you'll be seeing a legislative proposal on that topic in order to allow us to access a different type of talent and to have a talent process where we're able to have better permeability between full-time and part-time Guardians. And we can do that for 2 reasons. One, because of the small size of the Space Force, but also because of the ability to attract high-tech STEM talent. We're focused on building brand identity because, frankly, the American people really don't understand what the Space Force is or what they do. And so we're committing this year to spend $12 million on building that brand identity, principally with influencers. You know, the Space Force today is meeting its recruiting mission, but we're concerned about the future. Finally, in the era of declining propensity, we need to access a greater variety of talent and, as I said, manage them differently. And in order to access that specialized STEM talent, we need to take on new approaches and try some new things. I think the Space Force is leading the way, and I think, to get to your question, folks who have the ability to look at the option of military service today differently than maybe one would have looked at in the past, where it's a full career. Today, being able to talent manage and say, I'm going to go take a couple of years off to focus on making sure my kids get into college or raising them at a certain time or to take care of a sick parent. Those are some of the things that we're looking at in order to allow people to plan their careers differently, see themselves serving in a different way that we could have done before.
Thank you. Secretary Schaefer, the Army's, as you know, has had trouble with recruiting, and so I think you guys have relied more on retaining. So how does that impact the readiness of the Army?
Thank you for your question. So I think that this really is end strength is sort of a 3-legged stool as we think about it. So we have accessions, attrition, and retention. And our retention is historically high right now, which is wonderful. And I think that somebody mentioned it in the earlier panel, that once we get them through the door, they want to stay. So we are, really focused on addressing the civilian-military divide that we talked about. My sense is it keeps getting wider and deeper. I think in the Army in particular, there's a sort of historical piece to this as well. We bracked a lot of our installations in the northern part of the country. So our biggest recruiting tool is somebody walking down the street in uniform and talking to people about their experiences. And they just don't see that in the northern part of the country or know somebody who has in the military in general. And I think that creates a huge knowledge as well as cultural gap that we need to fill. So, along with what Secretary Wagner mentioned, we too are looking at this. I'm bringing my RAND lens to this and thinking about all of the complaints that I have heard over the years from service members. And a lot of it is this it's too hard to serve in many instances. That's what I keep hearing. It's modernizing these systems, right? We have a post-industrial personnel system, and it's those annoying things, right, that people are sort of working through. And I want to make sure that we don't lose people because of those annoying things, so that we can bolster and keep that retention piece high as we try to bridge this gap across the civil-military divide on the recruiting side.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Senator Blumenthal, I'm promoting everybody today.